Welcome to Global View. Very happy to welcome today Joe PAGS, an award-winning journalist with career that began in TV news as a TV news anchor and now spent to radio talk show. Everybody knows as the Joe PAGS talk show, who's listened throughout 160 stations all over the United States. Thanks for making the time to join Global View, Joe.
Always a pleasure to see you both. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Joe.
So today I want to talk about something that really hit my nerve, as a human and as an American as well. You recently experienced this horrible crime, which is swatting. Can you bring us to the night and tell us exactly what happened?
Yeah, I stay up very late. I'm kind of an odd sleeping pattern guy. I go to bed at about 5:30 in the morning. I get up at about 11:30. And I was up, it was 2:21 a.m., and my phone gave me an alert. Whenever there's a movement on my camera outside the house, I'll get an alert. And I thought that it was a bug. I thought maybe a dog or a stray cat or something. We live on like 15 acres, and every once in a while an animal will show up. Or maybe my wife had to take the dogs out to go to the bathroom, and it turns out there's a guy standing there with a rifle, and I could tell it's an AR-15. I've got an AR-15, and it's just a guy at my front door looking in the window, and he's got a hat on. If I look at it now in retrospect, I think you can see a badge, but who knows? It could be a guy who's got a costume on. You never know. And at that point, my adrenaline went crazy. I live in Texas, as you both know, and we've got guns. Okay, we've got a lot of guns. I've got a gun safe about 5 feet from where I was sitting, and I thought to myself, do I grab the gun and go figure out why the hell there's a guy with a gun? There's going to be a shootout at my house. Do I call 911? Do I cower? Which you guys know me. I'm not going to cower. So at the end of the day, it was call 911. Let's find out who this guy is first. And I did. And luckily they said, yes, we are there. And in fact, there were 7 sheriff's deputies here with their rifles out, ready to shoot somebody who was allegedly attacking me, which of course wasn't going on. So swatting basically is calling in a false report in the hopes of killing the person who lives there. They wanted me to die by cop that night. And it's really nothing short of that. That's what they wanted.
Joe, why do you think they did this to you? And do you have any information about who it was that was actually making these calls?
The only information we have is that it was an 818 area code, which is Southern California, but that was done through Google Voice. So it's a VoIP. So they're having a hard time tracking it. The sheriff's detective he says he's got some good leads. The FBI came out. They haven't really told me much of anything, but I don't think they want to tell me anything because then I'll probably report it. But why they did it, George, it's a great question. It's one of 2 things in my opinion. Well, it's one of 3 things in my opinion. 1, I'm against sending any more money to Ukraine. I just am. I'm against it. 2, I'm for Doge, and I'm for USAID not getting another dime from the taxpayers. And 3, I'm a MAGA guy. I support President Trump. So I think they want to take high-profile people who are known to be in the camp that I just mentioned, against all those things or for Trump, and either shut us up, scare us into shutting up, kill us in our front door, because that'll shut everybody else up who believes like us. But I think it's one of those 3 things. Now, I don't know that in concrete fact, but I would think USAID, Ukraine, and Trump. But USAID and Ukraine were happening right about when I got swatted. And I was very vocal about Zelensky at the White House making a fool of himself. I was very vocal about that. And suddenly I was part of the swatted.
You are scaring me right now because, as you know, I'm one of those who have been very vocal against sending this funding of the war to Ukraine and very critical of Zelensky regime, I would say.
Well, let me say this, but so on. It's very important. I want those watching your podcast to understand these 2 have put their lives on the line for this country, for freedom and liberty. And Simona has been out in front reporting on what's really going on in Ukraine better than anybody else has. I've learned a lot from you 2, and specifically Simona on Ukraine. I've learned so much about that situation where that helped me to form my opinion. So I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be proud and be resilient in what it is that you're reporting, because we're all learning from you.
Thank you. You mentioned that you were smart enough to call 911 and report this person outside your door. But how many people have this cold blood to do the right thing? This could have become like a serious issue. Your life was at risk. When you have this type of calls, they can just break into your home and kill whoever they think it could be the suspect. I mean, nighttime, we are not really, okay, you you know, most of the people are half sleepy, they don't know what's
Right.
going on.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is also an incident that has been repeated to different influencers, you know,
Yeah.
in the MAGA world. So it's not an isolated act. What would you say to people what to expect next? You know, they could think about doing other things. Is our life in danger? What's next?
Well, think about it this way. We've all met in person. I'm 6'1", 245 pounds. I work out a lot. I'm a big, daunting presence with my loud voice. Had I walked out the door, they'd have shot me. They would have, because I would have been a threat to them. And they wouldn't have been wrong. See, I think that what they wanted to have happen is, because I've got guns, walk out, maybe I kill a cop or two. Then they kill me in my doorway. Now the cops are bad, killed an innocent guy at his house. Now I'm bad and my mouth is shut up forever. But back to the calling 911. If I didn't do that, I fear even thinking about what might have happened. So anybody watching and listening who fears this is going on, A, get a camera outside your front door. That makes sense. B, call 911 first and ask a very direct question. Are you at my house? And they said yes. And by the way, when I walked out of my production studio where I was, out in my backyard, I could see a bunch of flashlights. There were three in the backyard and four in the front yard, ready to come in. And here's the most disgusting thing. Are you ready for this? The guy is still on the phone with 911 who called it in while I'm outside talking to the cops. So, because what I said was, I'm going to walk out with my hands up and the phone to my face, tell them to put the muzzle down, don't shoot me, we can work this out. So I walked out, the guy was still on the phone, and at that point he said, I've been stabbed multiple times and I'm bleeding out, please get in the house. They wanted them to break the door down, because they weren't doing that yet. They were investigating. They didn't see anything going on. The guy on the phone wasn't describing my house right. He didn't really understand how the house layout was. We have a big gate. The guy didn't know the gate code. He said there wasn't a gate code, but there was. He didn't really know the layout of the building, but he got so frustrated that they weren't going in that he tried to say, I'm going to die if you don't come in. That's pretty sick.
Wow, this is really sick.
Joe, I'm just in complete
Wow.
shock, because when you see the headline, it just says swatted, but no
Yeah,
one understands. I mean, they say swatted. What does that even mean in reality? They've been doing it, but then when you actually give these like vivid details, it's a life and death situation.
it is.
And the question, I guess, the follow up is, what if you were not awake at the time and you didn't see the cop outside? Were they just going to bust in, guns blazing? I mean, what
Yes.
was the process going to be? Because most
Well,
people aren't awake at 5 a.m. like that.
exactly. So I think what would have happened is they would have broken in. I've got two daughters who are asleep. I've got two dogs. I've got my wife. She's asleep. And let's say I'm asleep too. Again, did I mention we're in Texas? Somebody breaks into my door, in the front door. I've got a little gun safe next to my bed. I mean, then what am I going to do? I grab the gun. I'm dead in my bed. I'm dead in my hallway. And then they go, oh my God, I can't believe this is horrible. And again, the police did the right thing. They didn't just barge right in. But George, what a great question. What if I weren't awake and I didn't see that notification at my front door? They've got to get in and make sure that the well-being is okay. And they're not hearing anything. So the dogs might have been. The initial report was three men with guns broke into the house in the front door, shot and killed the two dogs, and I'm hiding in the closet upstairs. Don't tell anybody. I don't have an upstairs in my house. So that was the report. The fact that they were that patient is awesome, that they didn't just break in. But what a great question. If I didn't respond, they think we're all dead. They think something really did happen, and then they're breaking through the front door with guns.
Just a quick follow-up, Joe, to what you just said. Do you now have like a hotline to the police department there to make sure that they'll call you, or like, what's the recourse now, basically?
Yeah, we have a protocol now. Well, first of all, the lucky part is when I walked out, one of the deputies said, "Oh, Joe Pags," because they didn't know Joe Pagliarillo. They know Joe Pags. So
Yeah.
the one guy was a fan. He knew who I was, so that de-escalated everything very quickly. Other people won't have that same privilege. What we did was we've set it up now that if you get a 911 call to my house, this is my phone number. Call me. If you can't get me, this is my wife's phone number. Call her. If you can't get her, then come to the house. And I gave them the gate code, because the guy I've listened to the 911 tape, and the guy doesn't know that there's a gate or a gate code. Then they go, well, what's the gate code? Well, I don't, there isn't a, finally they say there is a gate. We need the code. We can't get in. And the deputies, these seven, actually ended up jumping over this big wrought iron, fence to get in. But the guy said he gave a code that was 6 numbers. I don't have a 6-number code. Then he said, my parents have the code. Oh, my father died sadly in 2010. My mother's in Florida. She doesn't know my gate code. Well, what's your parents' phone number? The dispatcher says. And the guy says, I don't know. I'm too scared. So there were a lot of problems with this, but again, the deputies have to make sure nobody is dying inside the house. So what a quandary. Can you imagine being a law enforcement officer at 2:21 a.m., 7 of you jumping over a fence at a guy's house, and I have no idea anything's going on. They wanted something really bad to happen, make the cops look bad, make me look bad, make me dead, maybe kill my family. And then I think they think that the same result would have happened that they hope is going to happen with attacking Tesla or scratching Teslas
Yes.
up or burning down dealerships. Maybe we can make them shut up. They don't have a good argument against us, guys, but
No, they
but
don't.
maybe they can make us shut up.
Recently we interviewed a psychiatrist, Dr. Lieberman, who
Nice.
actually she diagnosed a new pathology, the Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
This is a psychiatric condition, which she said needs to be treated, and it operates as any other sort of mental illness. So, do you think Trump supporters or people that embody our beliefs are exposed to these attacks also fueled by normal people, not organized, not organization, for just targeting people like you, like me, like us, for believing something they can't fight with arguments, and so they want to eliminate?
Well, I think there's a couple of things going on. I think that there is an organization that's doing this. I wouldn't doubt that the usual participants are the ones that are funding and financing it. Like people who buy DA's offices, people who buy courts, people who buy, governorships. I think those people are bad actors, and I think they are organized. When you see a big die out or die in, whatever they did at some Tesla dealership, that isn't one guy sending out a text and everybody shows up. That's an organized thing that
Mhm.
somebody's funding and financing. At the same time, I think you make a great point. There are now lone wolves and lone actors that see that and go, yeah, Trump must be bad. Oh man, this guy said something good about Trump. Oh, this couple said something bad about Trump or something good about Trump. Let me go take care of them and take them out. So I think that it's twofold. I think that the indoctrination happens when you see so many people acting one specific way. It's mass formation psychosis. When they see a bunch of people acting one way, like if everybody said that the sky is black, eventually you're going to go, oh, the sky must be black, even if it's blue. I think that really does work on somebody's psyche, and the individual lone wolf actors can do these bad things just like the organizations can. So I think it's both of them.
Joe, these bad actors in these organizations were really everywhere during the Biden administration, from the
Yeah,
Summer of Love to these Soros-funded prosecutors in places like Chicago, New York, other places,
yeah,
LA. Some of these people were obviously recalled or voted out of office,
right.
but we're in power now, meaning the Trump administration is in power now. You have AG Bondi, you have Kash Patel at the FBI, you have other people who I assume are taking this situation seriously, not only regarding swatting, but
Yeah.
of course, like this nefarious underground activity to intimidate and to potentially harm conservatives in America. So, what do you believe are the next steps to actually handling this from like a judicial and a criminal aspect?
When you attack a Tesla dealership and you blow up a bunch of cars, that's domestic terrorism. When you send police to my house at 2:21 a.m., that's attempted murder and it's domestic terrorism. It's
Yes.
exactly what it is. We have to charge these crimes at
Yeah.
the highest level possible because then it'll serve as a deterrent to those, weirdos that just, were indoctrinated somehow. They're not part of the group. You ever notice though, both of you, George and Simona, that we're right. That's the problem. We're right. They have no argument. They can't argue that we should stop, that we should argue against stopping the funding of something that pays for DEI in Serbia. There's no argument really against stopping Sesame Street in Ukraine or wherever in Iraq. There's no argument about saving money from waste, fraud, and abuse. There's no argument against closing the border. There's no real argument against being more conservative and loving the Constitution. So they're going to keep on ratcheting this up until such a time as the punishment is so bad that people who would even think of doing it go, I'm not going to spend 30 years in jail for blowing up a Tesla or for scratching somebody's car. It has to be so bad. I think that's the recourse. Now, I texted Cash that day. We're all friends. Texted
Mhm.
Cash. Cash, I got swatted. I just want to let you know. The next day, he posted something on X. We understand the conservatives are being swatted. Pam Bondi says something about it. I got personal phone calls and emails from members of the Senate, members of the House. But not a one of them were Democrats, if you can believe it. Not a one of them was a liberal. Not a one of them said, "Hey, let's just ratchet down this violence a little bit. We can argue with them on issues." When you see people like Jasmine Crockett out there fomenting violence against people like you and me, that's a problem in this country. So, George, long answer to a short question. The punishment has to be so bad that nobody on the fringe would even think about doing it.
Yeah, you have to drop the hammer. I think that's the only way judicially and make an example out of these lunatics, because if not, you're going to have a lot of these sleeper cells, if you want to
Yeah.
call them that, or ticking time bombs waiting to explode and to cause a lot of havoc. So I think that's when Trump talks about the danger from within. it's not only about the deep state, but it's how the deep state has radicalized elements of the United States population to believe these weird conspiracy theories or to hate people like us for
Yeah.
no reason whatsoever outside of being useful idiots to promote the leftist agenda. So
100%. I could not have said it better. I've got to tell you, when you're arguing against a guy who is literally giving up his wealth to just go and look at the books, to just do an accounting of government, when you're going against that guy, I mean, and you hate him now, he's the devil, he's Hitler
it's
somehow.
weird.
There's something wrong with you.
And most of the Tesla owners are liberals.
Of course.
LA is full of Tesla. I never seen so many Tesla in my life as going around in Los Angeles. And all of these people are liberals. So they're so brainwashed that they would actually kill their own investments to make a statement against what they don't even know. I mean, they're so unhinged, so angry, and there is a threat that we need to address. But I haven't seen yet any headlines talking about a major arrest or a sentencing to punish both the terrorists, the Tesla side, and the swatting. Now, I understand to some degree that they can generate numbers through Google and they can change voices through AI, but our system should be sophisticated enough to track at some point. I believe there is technology to identify these people, because until they think they can go on with impunity, like all these things have done before, we will see new attacks in different forms.
Well, it's true, and it's a very good point. I would hope that the FBI has good enough technology, or the DOJ has good enough technology to track this down. If you think about it, a Google Voice number, which is what this guy used, we know it was specifically a VoIP through Google Voice. You got to sign up with an email address. You've got to give some information as to who you are and how you log back in if you happen to log out. I would think you'd be able to track the guy down. It's a wonderment to me that it's an 818 number. I don't know why he would have chosen that. Why not choose a local number? Oh, and another piece that I didn't mention earlier, they didn't call 911. They called the non-emergency dispatch and then called in the emergency call, because if you're outside of where I live, you can't call 911 and get them.
Oh, that's interesting, actually.
But I would think we have the technology.
Yes.
I would think we do. I mean, how could we not?
I think we do, and we'll probably have some results. I think this is a very fast-paced administration, and I think we'll see some justice for people like you and others, and to make sure that what happened to you will never happen again. I think that's the only way moving forward. Joe, regarding moving at a fast pace, the Trump administration, with these series of executive orders and actions, especially on trade policy, what's your opinion on what President Trump is doing regarding tariffs? Do you think this is good for the economy? Do you think this is going to be a short-term pain for the long-term gain, or is it just foolish? What's your opinion on what's going on?
Well, I think the tariffs are easily and clearly a leverage play. Right now, we're being tariffed by outside countries way more than we're tariffing them. He said he wants reciprocal tariffs. And when you've got a 270% tariff on some dairy coming from the United States going into Canada, that's a problem. They're not being very friendly to us. But it's a leverage play this way. And I think people get confused by this. I know that you two understand this, but let me reiterate it. It's a leverage play in that if I say I'm going to tariff the parts that you're making for American cars in Mexico, or whatever it is that you're sending me from China, I'm going to tariff you high enough to make up for the human rights violations in China, where you're paying people nothing. You're working them 24 hours a day. Some of them are jumping to their death from the companies there because the work conditions are so bad. And you're taking those jobs away from American workers. Let me tariff your products so high that companies actually say, well, let me go move my company to America and let me go and hire some American workers at a good living wage. We already saw a couple of companies come from Canada. They're going to be doing that. I think Mitsubishi, Suzuki, they're talking about coming here from Japan and making their stuff here. It's a leverage play. I don't think Trump wants to replace the income tax with tariffs the way it used to be in the United States. I think that he just wants the world to be on notice. We're going to start manufacturing again. The United States as a manufacturing economy was the reason why we've got all the stuff that we have now on this planet. We came up with all of it. We were entrepreneurial, we were inventive, we were all those things. Now we're just a service economy. You have to change that. You have to lower the corporate tax. You have to put tariffs on goods so we can compete. And then eventually, because those watching and listening already know this, I'm sure, because they're very smart, because they watch you guys. But eventually, the stuff will come down in price because we're making it here. So there's no tariff. We're making it here, and Americans are building it. They're making that income. They're spending that into the economy. So I think the long haul, George, great question. In the long haul, our economy gets way better because of tariffs, because it becomes more fair, and we put a bunch of Americans. Can you believe that if we want some medicine, aspirin, we go and buy it at the local drugstore, it was probably made in China? Are you serious? We can't make our own aspirin? It's crazy.
I
So
love it.
I think in the long run, it's a very, very good thing. But we have to make sure we go out above and beyond and explain it to those who watch and listen or consume what we do exactly why it's a good thing. I don't think the messaging is as good as it can be.
Oh, thanks for
that, Joe.
explaining it so well, even because it will bring jobs back to the
Yes.
United States. It's a double gain. Now, one last thing, our audience in Italy follows the show. Do you have a
Yes.
message for them, as you're much loved over there?
A message to my friends in Italia. I love you. My grandfather's from Bari. My grandmother are from Naples. I just absolutely, every single day I walk around and I think to myself, I'm an American first, but I am a true through and through Italian guy. I love being Italian in heritage. I think that it's a big, big part of why I'm so loud and boisterous, and I stand up for what I believe in, and I throw my hands around a lot, and I'm very expressive. I just love Italy so much. I haven't been back for a long time. Next time you guys go, make sure you let me know when you're going, because I wouldn't mind going and seeing the old country again. But hello to everybody in Italy. We love you.
Now, that's a promise. Italy's waiting for you.
I can't wait to do it.
Thank you. Where people can find you?
JoePags.com. Go there, JoePags.com. On social media, it's either Joe Talk Show, and that's on places like X and Instagram and on YouTube, or it's Joe Pags, JoePags. TikTok is my biggest social media now, and it's also on Truth Social and places like that. It's either one or the other, Joe Talk Show or Joe Pags.
Make sure you follow Joe Pags. You have millions of followers. It's amazing. Thank you so much for joining Global View, Joe. Have a great day.
Keep up the amazing show, guys. Really, really proud of you.
Thanks so much, Joe. It's always a pleasure to have you.